Hello and super welcome to this video on becoming a Dynamics functional consultant. And in today's video, we're going to talk about solutions. We have been hearing solutions a lot in the past few days, in the past few videos, but we did not really get into the depth of what solutions are and what they are meant for. Before we start getting into exercises of actually importing and exporting solutions and doing crazy things with it, maybe it's nice and worthwhile to quickly have a look at the underlying concepts of solutions and environments, etc., etc. So for that, I have prepared a slide. It's not very pretty, but it's So guys, we start with the first slide. In the first slide, I'll talk to you about environments. So in the environments, you see there are three boxes: development, test, and production. And you, as a functional consultant, you will start working with the development environment because that is where you build everything. Yeah? So far, we are building in our own environment, and let's say everything that you have built in your own dev environment needs to be moved to a different environment. First of all, why does it need to be moved to a different environment? Because we have three environments, like I showed you: development, test, and production. So the development environment is where you are building, like I mentioned, but the test environment is something where the business or the users who are actually going to use the application are going to test the functionalities that are being built and rolled out and or are intended to be rolled out to production. And until they test and validate the change and they sign off on the functionalities, it is a bit dangerous to move them to production. And that's why we have these three environments. The test environment is also referred to as acceptance environment, which by its own name means that this is the environment where everything that has been built and deployed will be tested and validated. The deployment itself is a new term. Deployment basically means moving the changes from one environment to a different environment, and that is basically referred to as deployment. What is one more artifact about deployment is that the deployment, moving the changes, happens through solutions. So these solutions will basically move across different environments. But why do we have these boxes of different kinds? There is a reason for that. Because these boxes that you see that are packed, they can no longer be edited. And what are the examples of these boxes that are no longer can be edited? Let's take an example of Microsoft. When you install or when you start an environment for Dynamics 365 customer service, then everything that Microsoft has built for Dynamics 365 customer service will be available in these packages. So let me show you a quick example, and we go away from the slide to see an example of a Microsoft unmanaged, managed solutions. So for solutions, everything that is mentioned as managed is yes are our managed solutions. So this is right now I filtered to only show managed solutions. But when you have a look at the solutions, and these solutions I did not build or deploy, these are just Microsoft solutions. Some of them are for omni-channel, for dedicated channels. They have their own solution, but you also have, besides omni-channel, unified routing, and there are all other extended features of Microsoft. But you would also have, I can imagine, for customer service and common data service, etc., etc. Getting into details of what these solutions are, and especially the managed solutions, it's not very important, and you don't need to remember them, or you don't even need to know them, because basically you can do nothing about it. If I want to open one of these solutions, I basically cannot edit it. You see, it's a managed solution, and it cannot be edited like this. So your next question would be, if managed solutions cannot be edited, then how do we really make changes in the system? And that's why we need to know about unmanaged solutions. So if I set this to show me managed equals to no. So this is one of the solutions that I created, and this is referred to as Dynamics Customer Service. And herein I can go inside, and I don't get that notification anymore that it cannot be edited, and I can add and remove components. It is possible to have more than one solution, more than one unmanaged solution in an environment to be able to make changes, which is also logical because sometimes one of the teams is building one feature and the other team is building some other feature. So that is totally possible. It has its advantages and disadvantages of having one or more solutions or working on multiple solutions at the same time, but that's more advanced and we're not getting into that one. There's something else I do want to highlight, and that's a default solution. A default solution basically is a sort of unmanaged solution, but it consists of everything. This is basically universe. If you cannot find any component that in any of the solutions, it's in the default solution, because everything, even the solution components from Microsoft, they're all basically a part of default solution. In a nutshell, if I go back to the slide, this whole environment is a default solution. So if I make the screen a bit bigger, the solutions that I showed you from Microsoft, they are like this. You can also think of other solutions that were imported in the environment as managed for whatever reason. They will also appear like this. Now that we've talked about managed, let's talk about also unmanaged solutions. The solutions that you can create, which are editable, are referred to as unmanaged solutions. And in the development environment, I have created here two solutions. One will contain, let's say, these three kinds of changes, and the other will contain these three kinds of changes. The changes are almost the same. Huh? It can have its own components. They don't have to be similar components. It's just an example. You could also have just tables here and just Power Automate here. It doesn't matter. It's completely your choice. But this is how it would look like. How do you really move a solution from one environment to another environment? It's super easy. We will also see that in this exercise. What happens is, if I want to go to the next slide, and then if I export something as managed, this is how it would look like. It would be packed in a box, and this, if you export it as unmanaged, it would look exactly like how it looks right now in your dev environment. And once you export it and you import it to a test environment, let's say this one, it would also look like this. So you can actually go inside the environment, in the test environment, open the solution and start editing it. Why? Because it was imported as unmanaged. However, if you import the managed solution, it will no longer be editable. So it will look like this, and the notification that we saw earlier, we would see that again. The reason why I chose a different box for this managed solution and this managed solution is because I wanted to refer these managed solutions as more of that you get when you have the environment. So let's say these are all your Microsoft solutions. Otherwise, the concept is same. These can also not be edited, and this can also not be edited. The only difference is these are built by you as a developer and then exported and imported to your target environment. However, these ones, you will always have them. So when you have these three blank environments created, the Microsoft solutions will be installed on three of them exactly how you would expect it to be in either of the environments. In the same way, you can also do the same for production. So if I talk about the life cycle of changes, when you build it here, then you export it, and then you import it to the test environment. And when you've imported your solutions to the test environment, then the user acceptance testing starts, and that this is where the business will start testing and sign off. And once you have a sign off, then you can use the same solution and import it in the other environment as well, in the production, like this. What is the recommended way? Should I export unmanaged and import unmanaged? Should I export managed and import managed? Yes, the answer is you should always export managed and import as managed as well. Because the unmanaged, importing unmanaged has its own drawback, and especially it's very difficult to maintain if you have an unmanaged solution, and the chances of things going wrong is very high in future, because with unmanaged solution, people will start to have a behavior of editing directly in the environment in the solution here. And then next thing you know, your dev environment and your test environment and your dev environment and your production environments will end up looking very, very different. So it's always preferable to just export managed, import managed, especially for the environments that are going to be used by the business. Okay. One more thing that I wanted to show you was the behavior when you delete a solution. So when you delete an unmanaged solution, and this is why what we always choose to have managed is that when you delete it, and if I choose this component, if I delete it, the behavior is like this. Although the box has been deleted, the components and all the customizations that were in the box will still stay. It's just they are lost in the default environment. They are not in any boxes. They are somewhere in the environment, but without any structure or any box. However, if you delete the managed solution, the changes and the box goes away together. So if you want to remove and import it again, it's super easy. However, in this case, if you remove it, the changes are still there where it's not known. That's why it's always a best practice to remove the solutions like this. All right, so now that we have talked about deployments, environments, and how to export and import, and what are the benefits, pros and cons, etc., let's move on to an actual example where we'll try to export and import a solution into environments. So this is the environment which we have been customizing, and this is the environment customer service where we want to import things. It's very easy. Just go in the environment, select the right environment, go to solutions, select the solution that you want to export. And by the way, I filtered this to unmanaged ones. But if you try to export a managed solution, it's just not possible because they are a box. You don't get the option to export it. However, the unmanaged solution that we've been working on, the components we've been adding, you can just click here and export the solution. You will get some notifications. You can go next. And here you have the option to export as something as managed or unmanaged. Here also you can see that Microsoft recommends to export as managed. So if you are asked as a consultant on what solution would you prefer for deployment, your answer should be managed. If for a reason you're asked to deploy unmanaged, then you should definitely always and always ask, is there a reason of why we're doing unmanaged? And then understand the reason and then act accordingly. So I see our solution has been exported successfully. You can click on download, and then our 1004 version has been downloaded for us. What I can do now is I can go to my other environment in make.powerapps.com, and here I can just import the solution. When I click on import, it asks me to browse for the file, and then I can click on browse and select the file. And now I've selected the file, I can click on next. It shows you some details, and then you can click on next. It asks me to make connections because I already deployed here before, so I already have connections here as well. Otherwise, you'll have the option to create a new connection. You can just click here, and then it should be okay. And then you can click on import, and you see that the solution is being imported right now. And if I click on history, I can see that an import is in progress. Before this video, I also installed it a couple of times and deleted it just to see if everything goes well. But you can always track the import here, and it would take you around, it takes around 7 or 8 minutes for it to be imported. Okay, I see that the solution was successfully imported. What this really means, what did we really import and export, is that in all our previous video, we have been making flows, we have been adding entities, we've been adding tables, fields, etc. We don't need to add them all again. All I needed to do was just this export and import. And if I go back to this environment, this is the environment where I imported it. It now looks exactly how our own environment looks. We have cases, we have case investigations. If I click on cases, I don't have any active cases. Makes sense because this is also a new environment, but I can create a new one. But here you would also see when things like case investigations, because these were all the changes that we made in our previous app, and now how easily, without all that double work and editing an environment, you can just export and import, and all your changes will be very easily within a few minutes sent across. If I remember, making all these changes and all these flows, all these tables, etc., took us a lot of time. But within a few minutes, we just exported and imported to a new environment, and the environment is ready to be used. And this was the last benefit of solutions. Not only it allows you to export and import changes with your own way of working, but it also makes the job super easier. All the developments that you did are very easily exported and imported between environments. Let's go back to our solutions where we install this. This is the new solution that has been installed. And if you see, the difference is this is a managed one, and here if I go and look in this environment, then it's an unmanaged one. The difference is if I now delete the solution, it will not just remove the box, but all the components inside it. So it will restore my app just like how it was previously. So this will go away, and the case investigation tab and everything will just go away. So before you delete a solution, you always need to check show dependencies. And even if it shows one dependencies, it means that you need to resolve them. How we work with dependencies and how we resolve them is a bit advanced, so I will not get into this. But this is just a good practice. If you are about to delete a solution, check for dependencies, and if you find them, then probably it's something you need to first resolve. Otherwise, you'll have failures. And now I'll just delete the solution. And deleting the solution basically means that it will throw away the whole box and every component inside it, and my app is restored. This will go away, and any other changes that I made this environment will completely go. So our solution has been deleted successfully. I look for dynamics, but I'm not able to find a solution, which is what we wanted. And all the changes that were inside that were also gone. And the proof of that is when I go to the app and I refresh it, everything that has to do with customizations on case investigation and cases itself, you see that it has disappeared from here, from the sitemap, but also there is no case investigations here. So that is the beauty of working with solutions. You can easily add all your changes into a solution. You can export and import them to have all those changes quickly cascaded and deployed to other environments without having the hassle of creating them all over again for every environment. You have different ways of exporting and importing solutions, managed and unmanaged. We talked about the difference between the two of them and the benefits and pros and cons for all of them. I hope this video was informative for you. I hope this gave you a bit of context on how we work with solutions. If you have any questions, any comments, any suggestions that you would want to give, please feel free to put them as comments, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. In the meantime, happy learning!